This is Arts Alive. I'm Lynda Phillippi, and my guest is Jess Anderson, who is a Sheridan area painter, amongst so many other things. So welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here.
Good. I'm glad to be here.
I mean, I think I first heard your name when you were remodeling the building across the street for Matt and Marilyn Warwick's, and that is a true work of art.
Oh, thank you.
And amazing.
Well, it was an artwork. That's the way I handled it, just like it was an artwork.
I had no idea at the time that you were a painter. I just assumed you were, a craftsman and a carpenter.
I've done everything. I've got my fingers in everything, and everything that I've done, I've tried to do it as absolutely good as I could do it. I don't like schlock things, so I was on the drug team. I've been a contractor. I was a musician. I've been an artist. I've had a commercial art business. I was a wholesale jewelry supply. We can just keep on going.
You're like Mr. Haney. Remember him from Green Acres?
Yeah. I've been on
a little something for everybody.
I've been on city councils. I've been on planning commissions.
Oh my goodness.
I taught for 17 years for Chemeketa.
Did you?
I worked with inmates in federal and state prisons for off and on 30 years. I've had
as like an art instructor?
Teaching art.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I got great stories. If we could spend a whole afternoon on stories on those.
Well, I guess I might have to come out to your studio.
Best years of my life when I was teaching is when I was teaching in the prisons.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know what? I mean, it's true that you have so much opportunity. They have nothing but time, right? And nowhere to go but up.
And I've always been a firm believer that every artist in the world is about that far from the edge. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's where we walk. We're not careful. I've never been careful in my life, And you get in the prison, you find out it's just a whole bunch of guys that went over that little part there. Mm-hmm. And I know people in there that I would trust more than some of the people that's out here. Mm-hmm. So the people I got a hold of in there and I worked with, I mean, of all the people that I had in my classes, lots and lots of them got out. And within 48 hours, I was on the phone with them. And I still, in fact, I was just this week, I was working with one of them.
Really?
I still do. 3 of them were shown in galleries. 2 of them are absolute finest tattoo artists you've ever seen.
Really?
None of them had ever done art. None had done any art. And I took their paintings out of there and took them into county fairs and state fairs and stuff like that and showed them in those. They took all the ribbons.
Really?
And it's something to watch an inmate that's in prison for maybe 20 years, and you walk in and he's got a little red ribbon that big and have tears come down his face. A lot of these guys have never had an accolade in their life.
Oh my God.
It's, I could tell you lots of stories on that.
That's amazing. How you really were able to turn people's lives around.
I have a stack of letters that deep from mothers and fathers who said, "You saved my son," which makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
I had I had a commercial art business that we worked. Oh man, I had 7 full-time artists working for me at one time, and we went 10, 11 hours a day every day. And I was raised so poor that whenever we were really making the money, I couldn't get enough stuff. You just got more stuff, and you got to do things, and you could never make enough money, no matter what you made. And right in the middle of that, I had my daughter drowned, and I pulled her out of the water, and it changed my whole life. And I went for 5 years. I never even picked up a pencil. I mean, I closed the whole place down. I didn't have anything in here. Nothing.
Oh my goodness.
And from inside that prison, I had 40 homemade sympathy cards sent to me from Vacaville prison alone.
Wow.
And that's a heavy duty prison, So yeah, you can't tell me you can't reach these guys, because I reached lots of them.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think that nobody is really irredeemable. It's just a matter of, like you say, getting to them in the right way.
There's a few that are irredeemable.
Well, yeah.
Charlie Manson wanted in my class.
You know what? I was exactly just thinking his name popped into my head.
Yeah, he wanted in my class real bad down in Vacaville. Mm-hmm. And Charlie's work of art himself. He's only about this tall.
I know he's like 5'2" or something,
yeah,
right?
And he practiced that evil look in the mirror. He liked that notoriety that he had, and I said, well, let's go up and look at some of your work, because I just want anybody in there, because you get a bad apple in there, you can ruin the whole class, you know. And so we went up to his cell and looked at his stuff, and it's all blood and guts, and and I said, Charlie, you're not painting that stuff in my class. He said, I'll paint anything I want. And I said, you won't paint it in my class. And he said, I already told you. And I said, you're not in. It's just that simple. But,
this is a juried class.
yeah. And I'll tell you, that class took everything real. I made him be real serious. When I walked into the classes, each time I did a class with a new group, I said, okay, close the door. It's just you and me. I didn't get any of you in here. I can't get any of you out of here. I got a certain amount of rules that I have to follow, and I'll bend them every way I can bend them to make it the coolest class you ever was in. If you're in here to get out of a job, I want you just to get up and get out right now. I don't want you in my class. If you want to learn how to do art, I'll teach you everything I got. But the number one rule, don't you ever treat me like staff. And I'll never ever treat you like an inmate. No, I didn't.
Person to person.
I never judged any of them, none of them. And I mean, I had some pretty tough guys. Down in Vacaville, we figured up one time in my class, they'd murdered 38 people.
Oh my heavens.
Just my class.
How many people were in the class? 6?
There was about 20.
Okay.
My son learned how to walk between these guys' fingers.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, we had some pretty tough guys, but I'm telling you what, I've got art at my house from these guys that send me their art and stuff. You should see the art. It'd knock your socks off.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What I mean, when you people will wonder, what's the purpose of my life? What am I supposed to be doing? Well, I think you're a person who knows what they're supposed to be doing.
I've made it all the way through my life that I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I wanted to do it well. And when I was teaching those guys, the inmate in the prison there, I knew exactly that was where I was supposed to be. Yep.
So you really felt like you were in the groove.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah. And boy, it was from here to here. I mean, there was no ifs, ands, buts about it. It was so bad at Yamhill County Fair. I was bringing the guys in to go to the fair there, and they took every ribbon for every time we brought them in. So they wanted to have a separate group. So inmate art wasn't put with the rest of them. They had to be a separate group so that somebody else could get a ribbon.
It's time for somebody else to win a
and
prize.
They said, well, they have all this time and all that, everything. Let me tell you something. It's not what you think. Like in the federal prison, you're allowed to move once every hour. And if you're outside of the doors, whenever that door closes, you got 15 minutes to move. You go to the hole. If you run out of white paint, you have to order it through their PX. I call it a PX. It may take 2 months to get a tube of white paint in.
Oh, wow.
How do you paint without white? Any tube, anything. It just takes forever to get that stuff. They don't have it as easy as you think.
It's an exercise in patience.
Oh, yeah, very much. Oh, yeah. But, it changes them so much. I walked into my class one day, and all the guys are in a group. Now, you don't want that. So I come in and I say, hey, come on, what's going on? So everybody parted ways. Got this big guy is a skinhead, has more tattoos on him than you got skin on you, all over. And he's holding a lunar moth on his finger. It's about that wide, and it had just hatched out, and they found it outside. And they were all sitting there discussing how they would mix the colors to paint that.
Isn't that interesting? Wow.
Now tell me that's not gang talk.
No, it's not at all.
And I said, well, we got to go back to the class. So I said, and one of the kids says, well, should we stick a pin through it and save it for later? And this big guy says, and kill it? Oh, he was ready to fight. So I took it outside and I put it on a limb of the tree right outside of our window. And I came back inside and everybody looked at it, and a bird flew down there and grabbed it and flew off.
Well, there you go.
But that was nature,
Yeah.
But he wasn't going to let that kid kill that thing. There's
my
no
gosh,
way.
that's amazing. What a greet story.
Oh, I got lots of them.
So you brought some work in today.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what you got here?
This place here is Snoqualmie Falls, and it's up by my son's house, not too far out of Seattle there. And there's like 1.5 million people come there every year. These peregrine falcons nest all in there, and they come to see the falcons in the falls. And now the Indians have bought all this, and sitting right here is a huge, big motel.
Naturally.
And so everybody comes there can stay in that motel and stuff, you know. But when I'm up there, when I see things like this, it just makes me want to paint it so bad.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So I had one of my photographers that takes a lot of pictures for me, give me some good pictures of the peregrines. I couldn't get them close enough. I got a 600 millimeter lens, but I couldn't get them up there when I wanted them, you know.
Yeah.
So
I know I've seen those telephoto lenses that go like from me to you. They're huge.
When I was up shooting pictures of the foxes coming out, I had the 600 on there, and I thought, man, I am the big guy in the bunch. Well, all these professional guys that shoot for, you know, the big magazines,
like National Geographic,
they were
or something.
there. Yeah, a bunch of the geographic photographers. Their lenses were like this big and about that big around,
Wow.
and I looked at mine and looked at theirs, and I thought it was like I had a 22 at a howitzer convention, you know.
You had lens envy.
But the thing about it is the foxes came up so close to me, I had to pull that off and shoot with a little lens because it was so close that if I was to put the lens on them, all I could get would be an eye.
Yeah, incredible. That's amazing. See, there's more than one way to get a photo, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you particularly love birds, or is it all wildlife?
Oh, no, I do all kinds of wildlife. I went to Africa and spent 3 weeks in Africa, in Kenya, and I had my son with me also. And when we came home, we had 15,000 digital photos.
Oh, my heavens. Is that where you got the picture, this one?
No, I raised tropical birds for lots of years. At one
okay.
time, I raised all kinds of parrots and I sold over 1,000 cockatiel babies alone, hand feeding every baby.
Oh, my goodness.
And I had lots of the parakeets. And that painting right there, I had sold to a lady in New Zealand, and the country wouldn't let me ship it over.
Really? Why?
They said they wouldn't let me ship anything that was more than $300.
Interesting.
And I don't know why, because my friend over there, he gets $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for his, and he can ship to us.
Yeah, right, of course.
You know.
Well, interesting.
So I had to ship her money back to her, and she was really disappointed.
And say, if you're ever in America, we can send it home with you.
Yeah.
Interesting. So just tell me how people can find your work.
Well, I have a website that's www.jessanderson.com.
Okay.
I'm on Instagram. If they email me, it's jessandcheryl@hotmail.com. I have a list that people who want on my list, I send out every time I finish a painting. I take about 15 or 16 step pictures as I'm painting it and explain how I'm doing it. So they'll get that from the pencil drawing all the way down to the finished painting.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that goes out every single time that I finish a painting. And that list goes all over the world.
You know, this is interesting when you say that, because I know that there's another artist who does that, and I've seen his work, and he puts it like up on Facebook or Instagram, and he says, oh, here's a concept I'm working on. And then he'll show you kind of the steps in process. I'd never heard of that.
Who is that?
Gary Bueller. In Newburgh.
Don't know him.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing this for years. And I started doing it because I wanted one day to do my own how to paint book.
Oh, okay.
And I may end up still doing that.
Well, what's that guy's name? Bob Ross. You could be the next Bob Ross.
You know, and Bob Ross never painted a painting I would ever hang on my house.
I know that.
But I have so much respect for him.
But he's great.
Well, you know, he took over from Alexander, you know, whenever Alexander was in there. And Bob Ross never made any money at it at all. He did almost all that for nothing. And there's
Bless his little heart.
There's a big warehouse that still has all the paintings that he painted in it. I mean, but he got people painting for fun.
You know what? And see, this is the thing. This is why I love a guy like him. I have to actually tell you, he's no longer with us, right?
Right.
My son puts that on to put his daughter to sleep. You know, Bob Ross, oh, a happy tree, and there's
Let's do a happy little road.
Right, but so that's primarily then how you're selling things these days is through your.
And you know that hair he had, he became an icon of that. He hated it. He hated it. He said he hated it so bad, but you could look at a silhouette and you knew who it was. So he was never allowed to cut it.
Oh my gosh, that's just absolutely crazy. Wow. Well, you know, I hate to say it, but we're really out of time, Jess.
All right.
So thank you so much for being here and my guest.
Well, I want
you to come back.
I will tell you that a lot of people are talking about how things are so down right now. Last year was the biggest year I've ever had in art. And
It's
my
amazing.
major paintings like these, which were selling anywhere from $1,500 to $3,200 in that area, I sold 28 major paintings
Wow,
last year.
good for you.
And they went to lots and lots of different states. They went to Canada, a bunch of them in Canada. I did commissions out of Canada. I mean, there was just a lot of stuff. So you don't want to give up.
Everywhere but New Zealand.
Don't give up because, the market's still out there.
Oh, sure.
But you have to go after it. It doesn't come to you anymore. It doesn't come to you.
Well, thank you very, very much. And
My pleasure.
it's been an absolute joy. Thank you.
You bet.